Okay, so I'm now gonna taste the coffee that I just roasted this morning. I roasted this at around, let me just check my screenshot. Hmm. Screenshot was around 8:18 in the morning, and now it's 13:04, so about 5 hours. As you can see, this is a light roast. I have focused earlier just when it's done roasting. It is light roast, and so I'm excited. It smells good. Hopefully it's good. Now I'm gonna make coffee using the French press because the French press has a similar parameter or has similar parameters to cupping, alright? Although I'm gonna make coffee based on the concentration I usually like, so it's not technically like cupping. And I keep mentioning it that the French press is the closest thing to preparation of coffee or tasting coffee by cupping. So if I don't like to spend time like doing the cupping, I just I just do I just make coffee using the French press and judge the coffee that way. The coffee beans are brittle. They're not as elastic as I expected them to. But I think it's because I brewed or I roasted 200 grams of beans. Usually, I actually made a mistake. Not a mistake, but what I was thinking is making a 200-gram pack of roasted coffee, and that should start with 260 grams of coffee because the weight loss is more or less 60 grams until the arriving or I mean the final roasted coffee will be around 200 grams. So that's the the method I was using or the procedure I was doing for a few times now, like in the past, and the past three roasts that I got or that I made were pretty successful with that. But when I was filming the roasting earlier, I I was thinking of the 200 grams, so I weighed only 200 grams of green beans. But then the beans are not as elastic. You know, they're kind of brittle and easy to grind. So I think it's that combination of the lighter batch, okay, and then with the parameter that I kept using, which is that hemispherical bottom pan and oven fired, or I mean gas fired stove, like the smaller stove with a weaker flame, and then but setting it at the highest opening. Great. Finally, I'm talking and talking. Mm. Because honestly, this one, uh, I prefer brewing coffee at around 80 degrees of water, 80 degrees Celsius, or in the 80s, you know, basically of water temperature. Sometimes high 70s, like 77, or I'm not really sure because I'm not too technical on my everyday drinking. You know, I don't have to weigh all the time, something like that. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna let some pre-infusion, although I don't believe in the pre-infusion when it's a French press because um, it only matters for drip coffee, I think, you know, because you want basically to wet the whole beans so that the water will try to be in contact with all the ground beans, right? But with the French press, since it doesn't fall out of, like it doesn't go down out of the filter setup, then, you know, you don't really have to do the pre-infusion because you're gonna let the beans soaked in water. Anyway, I just did the pre-infusion just to look at it because and smell it, just to look at it because it's freshly roasted, so it blooms. I'm gonna give it a little a little bit of agitation just by doing this. I forgot to bring the stirrer, but anyway, it's fine. I'm gonna do this like cupping. Anyway, okay, so I'm gonna let it sit for about 4 to 5 minutes. So I'm filming in the under the rambutan tree. I just want to show you, like I do enjoy eating rambutan, like just picking it from the tree. This is the rambutan tree, and it feels so good, like just picking fruits and from the tree and eating it. Like you really feel in touch with nature, wherever you are. But as long as you get the experience of taking in the gift of nature, you really do have, you really get an appreciation of nature. Okay, so I might be all over the place, but basically what I want to point out here is that the first time I roasted, I made use of the wrong pan and probably the wrong stove. Okay, so what I found was good. Actually, just a week or so, or a few days after that failed attempt to roast, I already started roasting on a gas-fired stove using a wok-like pan, you know, a hemispherical bottom pan, and roasted a dark roast coffee, and it's kind of okay, you know. So basically, a few days afterwards, I kind of learned how to roast better. All right, and then a few attempts afterwards, like since you know. A few months afterwards, I feel like my roast, my home roast are pretty good. Yeah, and the arrangement is to have around 200 to 300 grams of green beans using that that little wok. Oops, stop. That little wok style pan, right? And then set it, I chose the weaker head of the stove, but set it at the highest opening of the burner. And it's enough, like the combination of the thickness of the pan and the amount of green coffee beans and then the strength of the flame is good enough for me to have a good roast. Like I can choose dark roast, medium roast, or light roast. And recently I'm pushing for light roast, like light to medium. The thing is, since the stirring as well, I'm using a whisker. That's a tip that I saw in a different YouTube video of home roasting. So ever since I saw that video, I just followed it. All right. So just keep on stirring, stirring, stirring. So yeah, it's kind of an exercise for your one arm. All right, moment of truth. Finish the coffee. Whoops. There it is. My afternoon coffee. Let's judge it. The smoky flavor is still there. It's still pretty strong. So this will improve after maybe a few days. Like I still have a pack of. Maybe I won't consume this again. Maybe after 2 days, I will start consuming it. Oh, and one more thing. When I tasted it, when I cupped it in my failed attempts, right? I don't taste the acidity. Like there's almost zero acidity in the drinks. But for my successful, like gas-fired home roasting, manual roasting, the acidity appears. Okay, like there's acidity in my drink. So I know that after 2 or more days, this will improve. That's how I learned manual roasting at home. And so, because I feel, of course, I would have to experiment with other beans as well, like beans from different origins. So in my next order, I'm going to do that. But for me, the next step or challenge in roasting is to try to come up with a DIY automatic roasting. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm gonna think of a way for that. But in terms of home roasting, this is it. This is what I would like to present to you. Home roasting in a typical Filipino kitchen. So yeah, this is my afternoon coffee. Home roasted. Manual brew. Coffee light.